Hello, hello. Welcome. My name is Sarah. And if you're tuning in here live or on the replay, I would love to know. Go ahead and drop it in the comments and let me know. There's so much coming through today that I don't even know what wants to come through. There's just so much energy bubbling up wanting to come through. And as I was in meditation before hitting the live button, what was coming up is the divine plan for this next era you're moving into, that we're all moving into collectively, is so much better than what your mind can wrap around. Is so more abundant, more filled with joy, more prosperous, more rooted in inner fulfillment than you can wrap your head around. And so there is an energy of possible efforting that you may be experiencing right now, trying to figure it out, because you can feel that there's something you're moving into. That energy is there. I trust that if you've landed on this, you're really feeling this. You're tapped into the collective that I'm speaking to right now. There's an energy of feeling and knowing that you're moving into this next stage, this next era. And at the same time, you don't know what it is. You may have glimpses, you may have inclinations and synchronicities around some things. And the message that's coming through is it's time to just trust and follow that and be rooted in your heart space and follow that. There's nothing to figure out. The efforting and the heavy lifting that you've been doing can be completely surrendered to the divine, to God, who has the ability to bring in so much more abundance and beauty into your life than what the little mind can wrap its head around. And so how do you do this? I just had off of a call a little bit ago with a sacred integration circle with a member and person. We were talking about this. This is about coming into and fully embodying your divinity. From this place, there is nothing to figure out. Everything is already done for you. There's nothing to figure out. All you have to do is be here now in the present moment. And I know that sounds really annoying to the mind, but once this clicks, once you get this, and so something's going to come through today that potentially may be able to activate or help you anchor into this or point you in that direction, because this is not something that can be done and figured out. It's only something that you can be. But right now, if you're listening to this and you're in a safe space and you're not driving, even if you are driving, like, just don't close your eyes, obviously. You don't have to close your eyes right now, but you can. I want you to feel that you are here now. Ask yourself, I'm going to ask you, are you here? And I'm not asking your mind, I'm asking just intuitively, are you here? Yes, you are here. You are here now. You are here now. Present moment now. From this place of now is where all of the magic happens, is where you get to fully receive your next intuitive steps, right? This is where creative inspiration is going to flow from. It gets you out of the mind. But right now, stay with me. You're here now. What is here now? Now, I'm going to have a pointer here. If you were to drop the body, just drop the body, whatever that means. I'm not talking to your mind, but drop your body. Are you still here? If your body were to disappear, are you still here? What part of you is still here? What part of you is still here when you drop the body? What part of you is still here when you drop language? You can look around your environment right now, drop language, drop words, drop any labeling, right? And just look around your environment. Whether you're driving, obviously obviously just pay attention, but you're looking around, right? That's something you're naturally doing. You're looking around your environment, whether you're in your room or you're outside in nature listening to this or wherever. If you were to drop language and labeling and words, what is left? Are you still here? What part of you is still here as you observe and witness your surroundings? You may say it's awareness. You may say it's consciousness. There's an awareness that's still here. There's an awareness beyond the body, beyond the thoughts, beyond the labeling that's still here now. It's always here. It's never not been here. It's always here. It's always now. It's spacious, right? It's spaciousness that's always here. This awareness has no limits. It has no boundaries. It's boundless. This awareness, this spaciousness, this boundless spaciousness that's always here is your divine presence. And when you come back to your divine presence over and over, because what happens is it's kind of like a toggle switch. Once you become aware, right? You have a conscious choice point, which is probably the most important choice you can ever make, and that is to be the divine presence and essence, like, and be here now, or choose to have a personal experience. And so it's like you're the presence, you're the spaciousness, you're the conscious awareness, which is all things, which is boundless. And you have this individuated expression, this authentic expression that you're experiencing as the human that you identify with. But this human that you identify with is an expression of divinity. You are an expression. You are one with all of this. You are an expression of it, just like your neighbor is, just like your child or your mother or your aunt or your uncle or the stranger or any of the other 8 billion expressions, or anything really that's physically manifested, is an expression of the mystery, of the substance. This, we'll call it infinite substance, call it infinite intelligence, call it, it's not really a substance. It's you can't label it, right? If you're with me, you know. If you're here now, you know, not intellectually understand, you can intuit this, that there is no word for it. It's part of you. You are it. This is your true divine presence and essence. And it's like a toggle switch. You can get hooked into the game, so to speak, hooked into the reality, so to speak, of your 3D experience, where then you play this expression that you refer to as your human. But as you abide more in your divine presence, it's seen and known and felt, known here, seen and known intuitively and felt, that you are much, much more than just the physical expression. Which is why when you drop the body and you drop the language and you're still here, This is the part of you that is eternal. Why is this important? I mean, this is everything, right? But when you hear people speak about embody, I'm pointing to this because a direct experience with the presence that you are, with the divine essence that you are, is the you have to experience it directly, right? Because what happens on this journey is you can get stuck in the intellectual mind about it, and you can understand it, and you can understand the concepts of it, and you can talk about it, and you can speak about it, and you can read about it, and you can explain it even to others, and you can wrap your mind around, I am everything, I am love, we're all connected. It can sound very good, and you can, I am awareness, all of that. You can speak these things, but unless you're directly experiencing it, it's all language, it's all concepts, because it can only be known intuitively, it can only be felt, it can only be experienced. As soon as we actually talk about it conceptually, it's already not it. Does that make sense? Don't ask your mind, but all right, is that resonating? As soon as we try to talk about it, it's not it. Because right here, right now, if you bring yourself back, you are here right now. If you were to drop the body, which you're not your body, right? For example, let's just say if you were to, let's say, if you still believe that you're the body in some way or identified with the body, because really what's happening is you're disidentifying with the body and the mental body and the thoughts. If you were still feeling somehow that you're identified with the body, which is likely a possibility here, what part of the body are you? Are you in your pinky toe? What happens if you lose your pinky toe? Are you still here? Yes, because you are not the body, right? The body is within you. You are the conscious awareness and divine presence and essence that is boundless. Your body is appearing within that. Right now, if you're here with me and you bring yourself back into the now, right here, this presence that's always been here, that's never left, this feeling of aliveness, this feeling of I'm here. There's a knowingness that you're here. This feeling of aliveness, this nowness is the same nowness that was here on the timeline yesterday. And it's the same nowness that was here 10 years ago or when you were a kid. This nowness is the constant variable. Everything else is changing. This is the unchanging, unknowable mystery of that which you are. Everything else is appearing and dissolving within this, aka you. So everything is appearing and dissolving within you, the true you, the real you. Personalities can change, bodies can change, all the other things. You're not this body. You are the awareness that is always present in every stage of your life, no matter what you were going through, what you were experiencing. It's just a question of what you are identified with. Are you identified with the wholeness of you, the divine you, the all that is you, the one that is boundless and limitless and free? Or are you solely identified? This is key. Solely identified as the individual expression that's navigating this experience. Because if you are solely identified as the individual having this experience, guess what? You now feel that you are like this separate little self within the broader reality. You're the separate self. that has to go out and make your way in the world and manipulate and do things, and you see yourself as separate. And so there's always going to be a level of fear-based consciousness because the world is outside of you and everything is affecting you, right? It's the opposite of that. The world is not outside of you. Everything exists within you. You are not the separate, individuated self having this little experience. You are all of conscious. You are all of it, and simultaneously incarnated here having a human experience. But when you're able to live in the now, in your limitlessness, boundless potential, infinite potential, infinite, limitless spaciousness, consciousness, awareness, presence, when you're able to live in the nowness, you still exist in the world simultaneously as this individuated expression, but you're, for lack of a better word, this is me trying to use language to describe something that it cannot be described, but you're more zoomed out, so to speak. Your broader perception, bird's eye view, like you're like the avatar that you're playing in the game, but you're not identified with the avatar, right? So if you think of like virtual reality, you're not identified with the character in the virtual reality game. You are broad or outside of that. This is the I amness, which is kind of like it's the first thing you can know as being in existence. It's the first thing that you can know of being in existence is I am. I am here. I am now. I am here. I am now. This I am is creation. Prior to creation, prior to all of this, is the unknowable mystery. You don't know where you came from. You don't know how you got here. Something created you. We have explanations and science and labels and everything that, to be honest, the more science evolves, it all points back to the unknowable mystery. So you're here in this appearing as a separate self, living in the sea of mystery that nobody can explain or understand. The question here is just, what are you identified as? Because if you're identified with the small separate self, there's always going to be suffering, because you're always going to feel as if you are having to make your way and navigate through the world, which is outside of you, and therefore you're always needing to protect yourself in some way. It's the opposite. Are you identified with, are you here now? You can't try to be identified with the spaciousness. You can't try to do it. You can't figure it out. It's not a to-do. It's a being. It's a beingness. And it's very simple because you've always been this. You've never not been this. This is your eternal nature. You've been this in this whole incarnation. This has been your true divine presence. And there have been phases, if you look over your lifetime, where you have played as the separate self, having a very personal subject-object relationship with the world, where you are very identified with the separate self. And that is an option and a beautiful choice as well. There's no wrong or right here. We came here to experience. But as you ascend on this journey and you come home to yourself and you embody your divine presence, you still play the game. You still get to play the game, right? You're still here having this human experience, but you're doing it from a you're not the you that you think you are, if that resonates. You're not the separate little you that you think you are. And therefore you're free. You're free to be. You're no longer stuck in judgment, comparison, criticism, blame, like all the things that are associated with fear-based egoic consciousness, when you feel like you're the separate self that has everything happening to you and that you have to make your way in the world. You're here and you're dancing. You're that. You are space. You are much larger. You are infinite. Infinite having this experience. And now you can dance and you can flow and you can be free. And you realize you don't have to micromanage and control the narrative of your life. You get to flow and be free. And everything's always divinely orchestrated for you, easy and effortlessly, because you are aligned with the divine flow. This flow, this essence has never left you. It's always you. It's just a matter of what you're identified with. So when you hear people such as myself or other teachers speak about embodying your divinity, which is how we're going to tie this in here somehow, moving into 2025 and beyond, you are about, if you're resonating with this, you are stepping into a whole new era called freedom, a whole new era called freedom of expression, freedom to be authentic, freedom to be you, freedom to do what you love, freedom to play and have fun. You are here to lead New Earth by embodying your divinity. And you can only embody your divinity now. You can't embody your divinity when you're stuck in the mind. So right now, the collective is really, really, really being challenged to get out of the limited beliefs and patterns and perceptions and controlling the narrative and all of these things, because that's all the mental body, that's all the egoic mind trying to control the narrative, and it's that separate self trying to make its way through the world. And it's about really coming into your heart space and letting go, surrendering, trusting, and knowing that you are not only being guided on this journey, but you're so much more than the little separate self you know yourself to be. And simultaneously, I just want to add, this is coming up, this doesn't discount your humanity. This doesn't discount your human form. This doesn't discount your life experience. Now you get to celebrate it from a place of freedom, from a place of not having the shackles of the little mind trying to control everything, because you're so expansive. There's like so much more space to play and have fun. You're not operating from fear anymore. So right now the collective is really being challenged to release fear-based conditioning and belief patterns and perceptions and linear thinking, even about how things are supposed to play out and how things are supposed to go. This is about what I opened with, that the God has such a divine plan that is being orchestrated in your life that is beyond what the mental body could figure out, beyond what your mind can perceive or conceive of. And so this is about dropping out of the mind and coming home to your heart and being present in the now and allowing and being open to receive and playing in this mystery and playing in the sea of spaciousness, which appears as space, but it's not even really space. It's not even empty. It's like an empty fullness. It's an aliveness, right? So if you bring yourself back to the now, you're here now. You're here right now. Come into your heart, drop out of your mind. Come here now. You are the awareness that's looking through your eyes. You're here right now in this place in quotations, in case your eyes were closed and you couldn't see me. In this place, there is no future. There is no past. There is now. This is where your embodiment, this is where you embody your divine essence. It can only be now. It's not something in the future. It's not something in the past. It's here right now. I just had something and then I lost it. That happens. So if that comes back, I'll say it. Until then, I don't know something was coming through and I just lost it. Let me take a sip. You can listen to spiritual teachers and read books and understand this on a conceptual level for decades. But this is about now. It's time to embody it. It's time to know it. It's not time to understand it. There's like this bubble that you can end up in where you just conceptually understand everything. And that can be your greatest hindrance, because when you're here, you don't know anything. You're just here. Like, you don't need to know and you don't know. Like, everything is a mystery. Everything is unknowable. Everything is unfolding now. The need to figure it out or label it sucks you back into this like denser reality. Like, when you begin to, like, a good pointer for this, or a good exercise is go for a walk in nature and drop the language, drop the need to label things. Like, if you see a pretty tree or a flower or a bird, watch the mind instantly want to, oh, that's a pretty flower, that's a pretty bird, that's a pretty sunset, blah, 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 blah. It's conceptually labeling everything to try to understand it, because if it can understand it, then it can feel safe, because the separate self does not feel safe. The separate self does not feel safe at its core. It's always got something outside of itself that it needs to protect itself against. And so it's constantly labeling things and trying to figure out. And this isn't to say that labeling's bad. Nothing is bad per se on this journey. That's another thing you'll move into, is neutrality. It's not bad. We use labels to understand things so we can navigate the 3D reality. So I know this sounds like a paradox, and if you realize that this is a paradoxical journey, you're more close to the truth than you are if you think you understand it. Okay, so bear with me because I'm speaking very paradoxical, but you drop language when you're going for a walk, for example, and you're no longer labeling it, and you're just being with the environment, with whatever's happening. You will be in presence. You will be in your divine essence. Now, it's your natural state of being. This isn't difficult. It's the simplest thing ever. It's so simple that you miss it because the mind is trying to layer things on top of everything all the time in order to slice stuff up and understand it. And that's great when we want to do our taxes, or when we want to communicate with someone, or when we want to check out at the grocery store and they ask if we have, is very effective and useful. This isn't about like throwing it all out the window, but I am suggesting that you take moments where you are in the silence and the stillness of being in now, with no dropping the language, dropping the body, and allowing yourself to just be it. The language will come back when it's needed, when it's useful, but the mind will start to be reconditioned as a tool, which is what it's really supposed to be, a tool to navigate the 3D world and to, file taxes and do random things that are very practical in this 3D reality. So we're not discounting the mind, but what's happening on this journey that you unravel, depending on what phase you're at of this journey, this is just your spiritual ascension journey. By the way, P.S., if you're on the twin flame journey, this is just your spiritual ascension journey. So the mind will become a tool that you can use when needed in order to navigate your journey. So if it's time to call an Uber, then you call an Uber, and you call it Uber, right? Because that's what we agreed to. We agreed to call this thing Uber. Whatever. We agreed to call this thing a car, whatever it is, right? But like, when you are able to give yourself the space and time, solitude and silence to just be without the labels, without the need to explain everything, um, you will you become more expansive, I guess, for lack of a better word. It becomes more of your natural state of being. And then, yes, you can selectively utilize the mind as a tool when it needs to. But what's happening on this journey, and in just in population in general, prior to starting to wake up, is that most people are running off of their conceptual reality only, meaning the mind is not a tool that consciousness and you are that is being used to navigate the 3D journey effectively. Instead, the mind is a prison that keeps someone trapped in the conceptual reality of good and bad, and trying to make its way in the world and labeling everything in order to understand it. And so they live their whole life in the conceptual reality, which is like overlaying actual reality, the experience of being alive, instead of just being alive and being present with the aliveness and the joy. They talk about the joy, or you'll talk about the thing, or you'll be moving on to the next thing in order to find more joy or find more happiness or find more success or find more whatever. So you're constantly chasing and you're constantly running. You're chasing what you think you need, you're running away from what you don't think you need. If you're on the twin flame journey, you might recognize those words, chasing and running. It's not what you think it is. It's not what you think it is. It's not your twin flame is part of your ascension path, right? Like they're a catalyst for your ascension journey. So most people will live in this conceptual reality, chasing and running and chasing and running and chasing and running and living their whole life instead of being, which means you're not even really experiencing what it is that you're experiencing. You're labeling it. Have you ever been on, I don't know why this is coming up, but have you ever been like, what's coming up is like someone that's on a vacation and you go to this beautiful spot and you have these beautiful sunsets and this and that, and all you want to, and like you spend your time talking about it or filming it on Instagram or labeling it, and yet you never actually feel peace or fulfillment or contentment. Where are you going for dinner, or what time's the sunset, where are we going for the walk? Like there's always something, there's always the mind filling the gaps, filling the spaciousness with things to do or things to talk about, or this is why they say that all of your answers will come from the silence. And this is so true. When you're able to be and actually absorb what it's like to visualize a sunset versus talk about it, right? Like it's kind of like another example that's coming up is like you can talk about what it tastes, what a strawberry tastes like. You can try to explain strawberry to somebody, right? You can try to explain it. You can say it's juicy and sometimes it's sweet and sometimes it's tart and it's got, you can do all the things to explain a strawberry to somebody. But until you actually are just eating the strawberry, you have no effing clue what a strawberry is. At best, all you know is a label of a strawberry, but you don't know what a strawberry is until you eat a strawberry and experience a strawberry. So when we hang out in the labels and the descriptions, we are experiencing life through the conceptual reality instead of actually experiencing it directly. Direct experience, which is why Spirit's been guiding me to share this direct experience. I don't know what I was going to share when I went live. Whatever's come through. But direct experience of your presence, of your spacious conscious awareness is what's going to bring you home. Is what's going to bring you home to your heart, to the love that you are. And just like I was sharing on our Embody the Empress call, at first, depending on where you're at with this, I'm just going to throw this in there. At first, you start to cultivate the silent witness on this journey, and the silent witness is a very high point in consciousness to be at, where you're observing and there's kind of like, you're not in the world, so to speak. You're observing the world and you've cultivated the silent witness. There's still this separation. It's like the silent witness and then there's something over there, right? So there's still kind of this like subject object relationship that eventually also dissolves until you're like, oh, I'm just it. Like, this is it. Like, there's no words for it. This is not going to make sense to the mind. There's no words for it. It's like the silent witness collapses. If I were to try to explain this, it automatically is not going to point to what I'm sharing. And this is why I love one of the things I heard the other day of like some, I don't know, it was a story of like a student coming to a guru teacher or something like that, asking about the nature of existence. And the guru would only smile in silence. There were no words. Right? So the gateway to embodying your divine presence is in the silence, is in the stillness, is in getting out of the monkey mind, recognizing when you're layering labels over everything instead of being in the direct experience of it. The gateway is in the silence and in the solitude. And so many of you on this journey have been naturally guided, and you will be naturally guided to be in stillness and be in silence. Life will naturally isolate you. Maybe you have time off work. Maybe all of a sudden you end up living alone. Your roommate moves out. Like, all the things, life will conspire. You get divorced. Like, there's all these things that happen as part of the tower moments and all of the things that trigger the dark night of the soul and things like that. And then not everybody has to have dark night of the soul, but I know a lot. I know I have, and I know a lot of the collective that tunes in here has. So I'll share that. But I don't know where I was going with that. I just lost it. It'll come back if it's important. You move into the silence. You're guided to move into silence, solitude, and life kind of conspires to make that happen for you. Gone are the days where you have to go meditate on a mountaintop for months, or go disappear and live in an ashram for 6 months in order to come to the realization of your true nature. You can do this right now, right here in your living room, out wherever you're listening to this. You are here now. You are here right now. It's the simplest place to be. It's always here. It's so obvious. Like, this awareness is so obvious. This presence is so obvious that you miss it. There's nothing to do. You're already here. And the ego will take that and say, oh, there's nothing to do. So you'll go, depending on where you're at, you could fall into what's called like the void experience, where after you start to realize your true nature, you naturally will start to lose interest in things. And this is like falling into the emptiness or falling into the void a little bit, where you're detaching from the mental body, but you haven't yet connected to the heart. And so you haven't come online in the heart space yet. And so you kind of find yourself in this limbo, no man's land, where everything's kind of losing meaning and nothing's really inspiring anymore. And you've lost a lot of your desires, and like that kind of phase. And that's a normal part of the phase of kind of emptying out, because you're no longer identifying with who you used to be. And as this continues to be embodied, you move naturally into opening up into the heart space, where you start to realize like, oh, this is the great connector. This spaciousness is also the great connector. And you start to see that you are one with all things as well. And this is where unity, heart-centered consciousness really comes alive within the vehicle, within your vessel. So there's so much happening on this journey. Your chakras are aligning. You're calling in higher frequencies, your body and your nervous system is adjusting, you're disidentifying with the mind as a separate self, and you're beginning to open up and have this heart awakening, which at first is like a complete purge and a complete, like, you know just it's different for everybody, but on this path a lot of times it's just you're just purging so much. There's a lot of crying, there's a lot of emotions being released and things like that, and all of this is bringing you home to yourself. When you're in this no man's land, if this is where you're finding yourself a little bit, where you feel like you're a little in between worlds, where you have lost, you're no longer identified with the separate self completely, but you haven't yet fully moved into embodying your true essence, and you're kind of bouncing back and forth. This is a normal phase. You're kind of in between worlds. I've used this as a metaphor on the Divine Collective playlist that I do. It's kind of like your ship out at sea, and you no longer you're in the middle of the ocean, and you can't see the shore anymore of where you've left. You no longer identify with the separate self so much, but you also can't see the shore of where you're going. And you're being asked to follow the light. You're being asked to follow the guidance, right? You're being asked to step into the unknown. You're being asked to surrender control. This is key. And you're being asked to trust. Surrendering control and trusting and surrendering even your personal will for how you thought your life was supposed to unfold. That was a big one. That was really hard for me, is coming to the realization of that I really didn't have as much control over my life as I thought I did. In fact, this is very paradoxical. At times it feels there's no control, and at times it feels that there is control. But the number one place where the most control appears to be is in the conscious choice of what I'm identifying with. Am I identifying with the victim? Am I identifying with the separate self? Am I identifying with the mind? Am I trapped in the conceptual labels and the duality of nature? The back and forth that the mind is rooted in, separation consciousness is rooted in duality. Or am I operating from presence? Am I in the now, living my life, allowing, open and receiving, having fun, trusting and knowing, and realizing that the steps are not going to be laid out for me? When you're that ship at sea and you can't see the land on either side because you're in that no man's land, you're asked to trust and follow the light, which is following the intuitive guidance, following the inspirations, following the nudges, and having trust and faith, and surrendering your personal will for how you thought your life was going to unfold, and your earthly desires and things like that. And this is all circling back now to the beginning. The message that was coming through is that God and the divine, same thing, consciousness, you love, all it is, has such a bigger plan for your life than what you could possibly fathom in your human brain. And so it feels as if on this journey you have to let go of everything that was important, and everything you think you need, and everything that you think you want or could desire. But the paradox here is, as you surrender it, and as you trust and know, and you literally let God take over, right? And surrender the plan for your life, you actually begin to receive more than you ever thought you could. The nature of your existence is expansion. This is why you feel a call for more. This is why you feel like stuck and stagnant if you're not creating, because you are a creator. You are a divine creator. You are meant to expand. That's part of nature, is expansion and cycles and evolution and growth. And you are that. You are one with nature. You are one with all things. So this call to expand is natural and part of life itself. The difference here is that you'll no longer be creating from the separate self that sees things, that's got the smallest view for what is possible in your life. Do you not feel that the divine, the one that's orchestrating all of this beautiful, unknowable mystery and magic, the one that we can't even understand, or it's completely unknowable and mysterious, and yet here you are watching me on a laptop or a phone? Like, how the F is that happening? You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. This is just unfolding for all of us. Do you not think that the divine creator that created you in all things could not put together a better plan for your life than the small little separate sense of self that is always operating from fear-based consciousness, past conditioning, old traumas, old dramas, and fear of what may or may not happen? Do you not think that the divine can roll out the red carpet for you if you were just able to trust and surrender to the knowing that you are a mother effing goddess? You are part of the divine. The divine is part of you, that there is no separation and that you are one. You are all of it. You are, and you are also the individuated human expression. This is the union. This is the divine union. This is union. You are one with all things. You are the essence of all things. And you are also having this human individual expression. You could say this is, in relation to this, the feminine and the masculine principle, the creative essence, which is the feminine, and the masculine, which is like the activator that goes and creates and manifests in the 3D world. The masculine represents more externalized world of form, the feminine representing the subtle realm. This is a marriage, the sacred union of you coming into full embodiment with who you truly are and fully marrying and coming into sacred union with your feminine and masculine principles as a divinely worthy being, fully divine while fully human. So we're not discounting the human experience. We're not discounting humanity. This is happening for a reason. This isn't an accident that you're here. This is a beautiful life experience if you're actually able to experience it. But you're not actually able to experience it if you're just living from conceptual labels and reality stuck in the mind. Your whole life will pass by and you won't actually experience a fucking sunset if you're always talking about the sunset and trying to figure out the sunset and label it or snap it on Instagram, right? This is about fully experiencing life. And when you are able to live from this place, you're actually able to live it like fulfilled and with a sense of joy. So what happens at first on this, in this limbo phase, as you move more into heart-centered unity consciousness, is you find yourself abiding more and more in the presence. And at first that can feel kind of boring to the mind, to the egoic mind. And so, or disassociated, but you end up integrating more and more. And then the beautiful thing that happens, at least in this experience over here, is you just have this like permagrin on your face because like you get the bigger picture, and you also have this uncaused joy, uncaused joy, joy for no reason, just uncaused joy that begins to emanate and bubble up from within, from just being present, from just being here, from just being now, just being you, with this uncaused joy that has, it's just for being you, being here, being now, being the true you. You have this uncaused joy, and you have these divine inspirations, and you have this divine confidence, and you have this divine creativity that bubbles up from within, that is no longer coming from the mind that's trying to figure all things out. And then you just get birthed into the world in the most magical, synchronistic, divine ways, because you are one with all of creation and you are living it, you are breathing it, you are walking, talking, breathing, embodied example of divinity in human form. This is Embody the Empress. This is what Embody the Empress is about if you want to join us. But Embody the Empress is, the reason I called it Embody the Empress is because the Empress represents in the tarot deck, which is basically just spiritual alchemy. It represents the divine sovereign ruler of your life, fully connected to the divine source within you, fully human, fully divine, simultaneously birthing and creating new things into the world from your divine creativity, from being a channel, right? So I guess that was a shameless plug. I don't even know where that came from, but that's what this is divine sovereignty. This is you being a divinely sovereign, free soul while having this human experience. versus being trapped in the mind and suffering unnecessarily. This isn't to say you won't experience pain. This isn't to say life isn't going to happen. Things will still happen, but you will no longer, if you can be here with me now, you can feel this. You will no longer be operating from fear. Fear will be a thing, you will no longer be operating from fear about any of it. You will just be in an intimate, direct experience with it. The joys and the beauty and the sadness and the things that occur on your path that, you feel on a human level, and you're not rejecting it. You're not running from it. You're not afraid of it. It's just a direct, vulnerable experience with life where you no longer have to hide behind a filter or a veil or a mask that you created. You just get to be you. And this is where your most authentic expression begins to bubble up as well. As you embody your divinity, you authentically express, because you no longer have the filter that gives a shit. To be honest, you no longer have the filter that needs to conform. You no longer have the filter that needs that external validation or is afraid of rejection. Remember, because you're no longer that little separate self that is making its way in the world and always has something to protect against. I know I have like the weirdest hand movements, but like this is how I think I move energy when I'm channeling, and the spirit always has me moving my hands. The infinity symbol is something that comes through quite a bit. And like, even right now, my hands are like naturally moving to the infinity symbol. So anyways, it helps me move energy when I'm channeling. I know it's the weirdest little hand movements, but so yeah, the message is just be the love, be here now. If you jump off this live stream or jump off this replay or whatever, and you just go to the grocery store. I love going to the grocery store now. I always loved going to the grocery store anyways, because healthy food is always has always been my thing. And so I love going to, I'm not one to get my groceries delivered or anything. I love going to the store and smelling the scents of, the fruits and the vegetables and this and that, and taking everything out. Anyways, I love going to the grocery store or any place now. Everything becomes an adventure. You go to the grocery store and you witness all the people, all the souls that are incarnating from this infinite substance or this infinite intelligence that creates all things. And you begin to realize that they are you, because you are no longer identified as the human that you think you are. And so you begin to feel as if you're walking in the world, but you're not of the world. You may have heard that, right? And it's a phrase that people say, but until you experience it, it's just a concept. It's just a label. So this is about no longer living from concepts and actually living it. But I love going to the grocery store because there's always such commotion, especially around the holidays and stuff like that. And I love going to, any other public place, really, when you're anchored in this and you're living from this, and everything is unexplainable, everything's mystery, everything's magic, and you feel as if you're in the world but not of it. And it's there's a whole different vantage point that you're accessing, a whole different state of consciousness that you're accessing. And yeah, attachments follow all the things. I could talk about this forever, but I think what I wanted to come through now kind of complete. This next, if you're feeling this right now, we are moving into this 2025. I mean, it's not even for 2025. There's a lot of heightened energy right now. This isn't an accident that you've landed here. Of course, this is timeless. So people are going to land on this whenever. But if you're listening to this now and you're still with me and you're resonating, it's almost an hour in, just know that take this in, and you're your guru. So you don't have to believe anything that comes out of this mouth over here. You can ask for your own confirmations. But this 2025 is a new era of freedom for you. If you're still here resonating with this and you're part of the collective that I'm speaking to, your next era is freedom of expression, freedom to be, freedom to play, freedom to have fun, freedom to be in your divine feminine flow. And so what's going to happen is, it's probably likely already been happening for you, but it's going to quicken, that any place that you are, oh, I'm getting full body chills right now. Any place that you are compromising or playing small or restricting yourself in some way because of some fear-based programming or subconscious programming, things like that, we're receiving a lot of frequencies. I'm receiving a lot more like downloads and upgrades than normal, and it just feels like a lot of energy right now. You're going to be embodying this frequency, like physically taking it into your body. So I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but it's going to be really important to, we'll talk about this later. Something's coming up about hydrating and all this and that. Maybe we'll touch on that, but it's going to be really made clear to you where you are compromising or restricting yourself in any way because of any fear-based programming. So you're going to be guided to authentically express yourself and be the free sovereign being, the divinely sovereign being that you are, which the mind cannot do and which the personal separate sense of self cannot do. You are beyond that. This is where they say, and this is, I just love to throw these quotes out there, because then they will start to click with you. When you know that the quotes really start to resonate at a core level, then you know that you're acclimating to it more. But when they say the universe, for example, exists within you, the entire universe exists within you, because you are all of this. You are all of this. And your human vessel exists within you, along with everything else. You're much, much more than you believed yourself to be. And you are divinely one with the creator that created you. And it's time to live that. It's time to embody that. It's time to know that. It's time to create from that. And you can only do that now. You can only do that when you're here. Real quick, I wanted to touch on hydrating and stuff like that, because that's coming through is very important. You're going to be guided to purify your body more so, or detoxify. I know I've been guided to start doing more lymph drainage and things like that. Funny enough, so was one of Embody the Empress members. She's been guided to do more lymph cleansing right now. And it's because we're anchoring into our bodies, which are a denser vehicle, more light frequencies that are going to be coming, like light code activations and just more influx of energies, that it's going to be really important to make sure you're drinking pure water, you're eating healthy foods, and that you're listening to the divine guidance that's coming through around how to be in alignment within your vessel, because your vessel is this is a sacred temple that hosts your divine expression, right? And so the more you're able to anchor in these frequencies, the more you're able to ground into this, the more you're able to hold. And so your nervous system is very important at this time. Things that are going to be calming, things that are going to be very grounding, spending time in nature, getting sunlight, drinking lots of water, grounding your energy, and watching areas of your life where you are stressed or have cortisol increasing and things like that. So you can bring awareness to this, because that deregulates your nervous system, and your nervous system is already going to be kind of overloaded with new frequencies that you're bringing in to the physical vessel. So I just wanted to share that as well. That was coming through. So I hope this finds you well. This was almost an hour. If you are watching this on the replay, I would love to hear from you. What resonated? Drop a comment. And if you want access to Embody the Empress, you can check that out. I'll be posting that in the caption at some point after this recording is live. Or no longer live. And until next time, I hope this finds you well. Namaste.